Hi, and welcome to the Virgin River Rewatch podcast. I'm Tracy.
I'm Gigi.
Good morning, Gigi. How are you today?
I am well today. How about yourself?
Good. Happy that it's not 105 and that summer is finally coming to a close and we can thankfully enter fall because the weather will be much better. I'm sick of being hot. It's more than I can deal with. I think when I was young, it was cool, but not anymore. Yeah, I'm kind of over it.
Mhm.
So, let's see. This morning, what are you drinking today on this fine Sunday morning?
I'm I am having which I don't have very often from that particular shop. I'm having a green tea lemonade.
Oh, a lemonade. Nice.
hmm
Early in the morning for lemonade, but
I know. It has green tea in it, which is what it's mostly green tea. The lemonade is just it's I think they just splash in the lemonade and
right.
call it, you know,
Yeah.
whatever. But
Yum.
the green tea is better for me anyway.
Well, that's good.
And what
I
about yourself?
I am of course having an iced coffee, and because
Mhm.
of the season, I'm feeling the fall. And you know me, I know you don't like pumpkin drinks, but
No, I
I
don't.
I love them, so I'm having a pumpkin iced coffee.
Oh, very nice.
All right. Well, let's get started.
Season 2, episode 3, the morning after.
All right. The description says Mel seeks to help Charmaine get hydrated while thinking about what transpired with Jack. Aren't we all thinking about what transpired with Jack?
Tell me
Calvin
about it.
offers Brady a job. Yeah. Well, season 2, episode 2 was spicy. And so now we get to see what happens after the spicy. So of
As
course,
I said, the
as
morning after.
yes, the morning after, and as we start off with the beautiful scenery, and I love how like they show the sun coming up over the wilderness, and now as we enter Mel's cabin, it's a one room cabin. Everything
Mhm.
is visible from every part of the room. We can see what happened at night is still displayed all over the floor, and yeah, the morning after with we've got clothes and shoes and jackets and there's things on the floor. Yeah,
It's the aftermath of a passionate night. Let's
yes.
just
I
put
think
it
that's
that
a good way
way.
to put it. I think that's fair. Yeah. So, there they are in
Mhm.
bed facing each other. Now she's asleep, and he's just
And I love the look on his face. He is totally enthralled with this woman.
he's just
He
watching
is
her sleep. Most people would
I
find
know
that
sleep. It's
creepy, but it's very sweet.
he is it's like he's watching every movement of her face. He's just absorbing it in, which is so cute. And then he says, "Hey."
Right. I know, like trying to wake her up, but so gently. And then it's funny because the first time I watched this, I did not catch the second hey because it was more like, hey, like the second one because he was trying to she didn't hear him the first time, and I didn't even catch the second one. But when I
Mhm.
watched it again, I'm like, oh, he was like again trying to wake her up, but like, hey, like it was very sweet. And it just he's so in love with her. He just lays
Mhm.
there just staring at her. And it's very sweet. Now, when they wake up in the morning, did she like get up in the middle of the night and get dressed? I'm just
I think
curious.
she did.
Cuz most people they wake up with a sheet. They don't wake up with a t-shirt on. But hey, somehow or another she winds up with a t-shirt, which is cool.
Maybe she
Maybe
she
she
maybe
got
she went to
cold.
the bathroom or something and throw on a
I,
t-shirt.
I just thought that was an interesting choice to have her
Hey.
have a t-shirt. I just thought it was cute. So she looks at him and just the cutest smile, like, oh, yep, mm-hmm. Now, I thought it was very sweet that he leaned over to give her a kiss. It was very tentative, though. It's kind of like, okay, where's this gonna go? Because she probably was not expecting this to happen. He probably was not
Oh God,
expecting
no,
this to
no.
happen.
Yeah,
And
the turn of events of this evening
yeah,
was something neither of them had
very
counted on.
unexpected. He
You
was
know,
pissed, and she was pissed that he was pissed, and it was like, okay,
yeah. passions arise.
Yeah, I mean, it just happened. You know, it's one of those they say, but it
Hmm.
just happened. It's like, how did it just happen? That's how it just happened. Like that, there's a perfect. You can see it in black and white and color. Perfect example of how it just happens. There you go. One
Yes.
thing leads to another, and you just, once the train is out of the out of the station, you can't stop it.
Mm,
There's just no way.
it's wham bam, thank you, ma'am.
And then you get the morning after, as the episode is called, and
Mm,
sometimes you get the regret.
yes.
And for
And she
her, it's,
says,
I'm so sorry.
yeah. And he says,
She,
for what?
yeah, for why? I'm not sorry. She just wasn't ready. And he, of course, Jack.
Yep.
Oh,
He's
it's
like, okay.
fine. It's okay. And right in there with her, you weren't ready.
I love the view from,
I know.
I love the camera view
Yeah,
because it's angled from on top. You watch them from on top,
right.
and it's just how they're just so deeply enthralled with each other.
Oh, yeah, for
And
sure.
they pan down to him with his gorgeous blue eyes and his absolutely gorgeous body. All right, I have to take a breath.
Right? I know. I mean,
I need to breathe here.
do we need let's all take a collective minute and
Ah,
enjoy.
okay, I
Enjoy
need to
the
breathe.
scene.
Yes.
We are enjoying the scenery. The show has great
Oh,
scenery. So let's just
yes,
enjoy the
it
scenery.
does. Exactly, exactly. So anyway.
Oh my. So and then he
Oh,
puts her hair behind her ear and he's just like,
yeah.
it's okay. I'll wait. Like whatever you need to do, I'm here for it. And she just keeps going back to, which is what was preventing her from even trying a relationship with him, which is, you got another woman pregnant and I
Mhm.
can't be a part of that because I can't have kids, and what am I going to do? And now that I've already done it, it's like as much as she wants to be with him, her mind is telling her one thing and her heart is screaming something completely different.
Exactly. Because
She's
she doesn't want to get in the middle of this whole, even though she is already part of this triangle, she doesn't want to be part of it,
she's
if you see
trying
what
to
I
get
mean.
out of the triangle and her heart
Yeah.
keeps tugging her back
Yep.
in and she can't help it.
Now, not only that, Jack is not making it easy for her either, if
Well,
you
and
see my
he's
point.
telling her it's fine. Like, we can totally work that. Like, yeah, like I'll do, no problem. Like, I don't love her. I
Yeah.
love you. And she is trying not to come in between this
Yep.
parenting thing that's going to happen. So she's trying to remind him that everything is going to change for him once the baby comes in. He was like, yeah, but that doesn't change the way that I feel about you. And that when she's like, when you become parents, raising a baby together, that could change how you feel. It creates an unexpected bond. You can't know how that's going to affect you once this. And he is like, no, nothing is going to change the fact that I want you, because
Hmm.
he's in love with her. And he
Hmm.
tells her, I'm in love with you.
Yeah.
And she's like, I'm sorry, I'm not
Sorry.
ready. And he's like, it's okay, you'll get there. Like, he's willing to just be the most patient man. I feel
Yep.
like that's him. He is just going to wait. And that's all he wants is her. And if it takes time, then that's fine. And her answer is, can we just be friends? And he was like, I'll try. I'll do my best. Like, we've already slept together, but I'll try
Yeah.
not to think about that every time I see you, knowing
Yeah.
that that's where things could go if we just let it happen. But no, let's be friends. Sure. Whatever you say. Let's be friends. And it's just so sweet how he is so accommodating and caring about her and her state that she's in, with her confusion and her heartache and all the pain that she's been in. And he tries to make a joke and he was like, well, since we're friends, yeah, maybe I
Yeah.
should like put my
I put
pants
on
on.
my pants. I
I mean,
love that part.
it's
And
so
she's like,
funny.
yeah.
She's like, okay. And he's like, yeah, okay, fine. Like, kisses her hand and then she's watching him put his pants on. But then she like closes her eyes like, okay, if I keep watching this, I'm going to just grab him and throw him back in the bed. And I can't do that. So we have more
Yes.
scenery, more
Yeah.
scenery.
A different
Love.
type of scenery.
Yes. So it's clearly a few hours later, and now because of the break-in of the person that came in and attacked Mel, and Jack had to run them off. They got in through the back door. Jack has taken upon himself, because
Yes.
now that he has this extra special bond secretly with Mel,
Mm-hmm.
his protection mode has jumped about 10 levels,
Oh yeah.
right?
Oh yes.
So
Yes.
he's going to do what
Yeah.
he needs to do to make sure that things are taken care of. And this is just between them, because nobody knows. This is like everybody thinks that they're still, having this little animosity, but they're trying to, they're civil to each other. So as far as everyone knows, that's the way things are. So his answer is
Everything is simpatico.
right. So he decides he's going to put a keyless deadbolt lock on the back door for Doc to keep the place safer. The front door, I guess, is less problematic, maybe because there's two doors or something. But the
Well, also,
back,
I think what happens is people are passing by all the time,
right?
so
It's
people will see are more likely to see if somebody is trying to break
right,
in, far less, because remember this is out in the middle of nowhere.
right, right.
So if your backyard is the forest,
Mm-hmm.
it's a lot
Someone
easier
could
for
sneak
people to
in for sure.
skin
Well,
exactly.
and
So
they generally didn't even lock their doors. She even said,
that's
I
true.
forgot to lock it. So, and even if she were to lock it, it's just a simple lock. So, Jack's making sure that there's a much better, safer lock. So, he put a keyless deadbolt lock, and Doc is sitting there kind of asking him. And he goes, what? Like, now a key isn't even good enough? And he's like, well, all you have to do is just put in a security code. Once you're inside, it automatically locks behind you. And Doc he's almost laughing, and he was like, oh my gosh, it's not the Pentagon, like, geez. And he goes, look, just pick a 4-digit number, super easy. And he's like, like your birth date or your anniversary. He goes, yeah, none of those were easy. So he's just being a smartass, which is funny.
Well,
So
Doc likes his life very simple, and the fact that now
now he has
he
to
has
have
now
this.
yeah,
Yeah,
exactly. He's not thrilled about it, and so now they're discussing where this guy may have come from, and
assumption, the pod camp.
right, the pot camp, and Jack is thinking it's one of Calvin's
Yeah,
guys.
I mean, the description wasn't great, and the guy ran away. So
Hmm.
they they have what they have. The sheriff's going to do what he can, which probably isn't much. So Jack is figuring this is the best we can do. And in walks Preacher, and he's
Hmm.
hand delivering Doc's lunch, which is very nice of him. Maybe it's a little slow at the bar.
Hmm.
It seemed weird that he goes, oh, you didn't have to do that. And he goes, no, it's no problem. And while Jack is there with Preacher, he's like, oh, by the way, this came for you. It was under the door this morning. And Preacher opens it up, and it's an envelope from,
Age.
it's the keys to the bakery truck. And Jack's like, what's going on? And he's like, oh, yeah, she asked me to watch the truck while she's gone, and her dad's sick, right? And because that's the story they went with. Her dad's sick. She had to go out of town. We're not sure when she'll be back. And could she watch the bakery truck? And this is when, because Jack and Preacher had a conversation before, when Preacher found out that Paige had a different name, and he was talking to Jack about it. Remember, Paige got
Yes.
upset
Yes. Right.
because she was like, "Don't tell anybody." He's like, "Well, I already told
Buddy.
Jack, and I know he's not going to tell anybody." So they were talking
Mhm.
about it, and that's when Jack asked Preacher, "Hey, did you ever figure out why she has a different name?" And because he doesn't want to tell him more, get him more involved, and with everything that had gone on in the last evening, killing the husband and getting rid of his
Yes.
body and all, we're not going to talk about that. He was like, I just decided it was none of my business. And he just leaves it at that and walks away. Now, Jack's like, oh,
On
there's more.
Jack and Jack, yeah, Jack has a look on his face that says
There's
he's not
more.
telling me the whole story. Yeah.
There's definitely more to that story.
Yeah.
Absolutely. So I love this scene.
Yes, this is a
This,
great scene.
and it's funny because they never revisited this conversation because
No, they.
you know,
Oh,
Hope
yes.
knew. She didn't know
Yes.
what she knew, but she knew.
Knew
And they
something was
never
up.
went back
Yeah.
and because I would have loved later, like after a conversation later on, it would have been nice for her to say, I knew, just because that seems like a very Hope thing to do. Like she
Exactly.
likes to be validated for her
Oh,
wackadoodleness.
he certainly does.
So Mel shows up at Hope's place, and she's good morning, and Hope's out there, and she's gardening, and Mel is like, oh my gosh, these flowers are beautiful. What is this? And she's, oh, honeysuckle and rosemary, and she smells them, and she was like, oh, they smell amazing. And Hope is looking at her like, you seem awful perky. Now
Little too cheery.
she is trying to play it cool. Like she's like, no. Well, she's like, what
Mm.
gives? She's like, nothing. I'm just, here to check on Charmaine. She goes, I wouldn't think that'd be something you'd be happy about. She goes, I care about all my patients. She goes, no, something's different about you. I bet my life on it. She goes, oh, really? You bet your life on it? She goes, well, I would bet my Eden climbing roses on it. And she's like, okay, well, I just, I'm a nurse. I like helping people. It's my job. And she goes, for the record, I know there's something you're not telling me. She goes, okay. And then Doc shows up and he's like, good morning. So Mel goes in because she has to go check on Charmaine. And Doc's like, I'll be in a minute. And they steal this moment, Hope and Doc, to do a little smoochy smooch. And I guess she had called him and said that she needed him to come over right away. And he was like, what's so important? And she's like, oh, I just wanted to know how your date with Muriel was. Because remember,
Oh, yes.
he had a little date with Muriel.
That's right.
And he was like, oh, yes, that's not urgent. I mean, you said get over here. And she's just nosy. She just wants to know. And
He does.
now she wants him to see her again. And he was like, wait, this is ridiculous. This We're not going to keep doing this. I mean,
And
can't
and what I don't understand is Hope doesn't understand that as much as she does not like Miriam, this is going to hurt Miriam.
Yeah,
You know,
Muriel's a nice person and
she.
genuinely cares about everyone. Yes, she's going after Doc like a cat in heat, but that's beside the
Yes.
point. That's she just, there's not a lot of eligible bachelors in Virgin River at this
Yeah.
point.
Tell
So,
me
I
about
mean,
it.
she, and she's always kind of had her eye on him. It seems odd because he's 72 and
Mm-hmm.
she's supposedly late 50s, so there's a significant age difference, but I don't think she cares. She sees him as
Nope.
someone that she has a lot in common with, and really that's what she's looking for, some companionship. I mean, hey, if anything else were to happen, she wouldn't say no, but you know, ideally she's just looking for somebody to hang out with cuz sometimes those ladies are a lot, you don't necessarily would just want to hang out with them all the time.
That's true. That is quite true. I think Doc, because of the relationship between Hope and Doc, has been so tentative. Nobody
Yeah.
knows how this relationship goes.
Right.
You know,
Even they don't
they
know.
exactly. And so the thing is, in her mind, she feels like he's open season because neither of them live with each other.
Right.
It's an on again, off again sort of situation. So Miriam feels like, well, he's there for the pickings,
Right.
and when Hope wants him back, well, then whatever, but for the meantime she's going to try to stake her claim too.
She is certainly going to try. Now, Hope, because of this situation where they're hiding their love, she's
Mm-hmm.
allowing him or
Yeah.
I should say, pushing him to spend time with Muriel so that it sort of throws the scent off of the two of them getting back together, which I get where she's coming from, but it's not nice. I mean, it's
Yeah.
cruel knowing that Mariel cares for Doc. It's almost like, why would you? It's like you're pretending to like me just to throw somebody off, and then I'm just gonna have to let you down later. Like I don't know. It's so not genuine. It's just a shame. It's a shame that
Yeah.
this is what the Doc is
And
letting her do this. Like,
right, and I'm disappointed in Doc that he's letting her manipulate him this way,
yeah. I mean, he
because
will put a stop to it, and eventually. But I feel like it maybe one date would have been enough. Like if they would have went
Mm-hmm.
on one and then he came clean and said, you know what, I think we're going to get back together. Even if it had already happened, he can spin it in a way that will let her down easy. But
Mm-hmm.
this, I don't know. This just does. I don't know. I'm not cool with it. But that's
Nope.
Hope. I
Neither am
mean,
I.
Hope is
Yeah.
Hope is always manipulating. Jack said
Yep.
it best. She's always trying to get what she wants, and she'll do whatever she needs to get it. So this is just a prime example of Hope being Hope.
Yes, it is. It is most certainly.
So she tries to
So
talk him into just one more date and next time to go someplace public, like a restaurant or park. That way she can't seduce him. But they're just silly teenagers at this point with all the hiding and the kissing and stuff. It's kind of
yes.
funny. Now we see Doc and Mel and Charmaine, and they're checking on Charmaine, and she's feeling a little bit better. Apparently, she's only vomited once, which is good. She's still dehydrated, and Doc's plan is she needs an IV. That the dehydration is probably the worst symptom that she has right now, and that's the one that's most troublesome. And we have to get
Yes.
that taken care of. So he's like, you need an IV because she can't keep anything down and all of that.
Mm. And that's when she freaks out.
She literally cannot. She's like, no. And he was like, oh, it'll be fine. You're not going to feel a thing. And she's like, you are not coming near me with that. And Mel's trying to calm her down. She's like, if either of you stab me with that, I'm going to vomit. And I don't know why they did this. It's kind of funny. What is it? Trypanophobia? He's like, oh,
Yeah.
trypanophobia. It's like, do we have to name it? Do we have to call it that? Like, really? She's like, yeah. Whoa, what's that?
Whatever that.
Extreme fear of needles. She goes, yeah, that's what I have then. It's like, did we need to say that? I don't think we needed to say that. But whatever, they like to throw medical jargon in there just to
I was now about to say that. Yeah.
whatever. It's
Needed.
fine. So Doc has an option for her. Okay, so here we go. We either do this right now, we give you the IV because you need it, or we call the hospital and tell them that we're coming over and Mel jumps in. They'll put you to sleep. You won't even feel it. You'll get your IV and you'll be fine. She's like, no, I can't go to the hospital. She's like, they can monitor the baby, they can do everything. And she's like, I just want to go home. She's freaking out. And Doc finally says it's an ultimatum, like either the needle or the hospital. And Mel's like, okay, well, how about if we try some like aromatherapy or relaxation techniques, meditation, something like that. And Doc is like, you need an IV, not a bunch of mumbo jumbo. Because remember, he's old school. All of that mumbo jumbo
And
that he talks about.
yeah. And the thing with Doc is he needs to get it done.
Yeah.
And all this is taking away from his patient, which
the
is
goal
her.
of getting
Yeah,
that IV.
exactly. Exactly. And as much as he appreciates the fact that yes, she may be afraid, he needs this to get done like now.
Yeah.
And the fact that Mel wants to do, as he says, the mumbo jumbo, that's taking time away from what needs to be done.
Right.
And so that's where things get interesting.
Now Mel
And so
chimes in and she's like, look,
yeah.
holistic therapy, it's very common. She uses it with almost all of her patients in LA. And can she just try? Can you just give her the day, let her try? If can't get this IV, if we're not going to use the IV and you can do something, that's fine. He's giving her until that night. And if it doesn't work, then she has to go to the hospital. And Mel's like, okay. And so Mel says that she's going to run back home. She's going to get her kit because she's got all the whatever she needs. And she will be back. And hopefully she can calm her down enough that she can get that IV in. Now,
and this is one of my other favorite scenes because
God.
it's
there's so many really good scenes in this episode.
Because it's sort of like, a secret sort of passing by.
Yeah, they have to play it cool. So Mel and Jack have to now. They're the only ones that know what happened the night before. Now they're friends, and I use that term lightly,
quote unquote, as they say.
Yes, and he comes, of course, to check on Charmaine, and she sees him, and it's that coy smile that, hey, and she's like, hey, friend. She's like, okay, yeah. It's like, oh, if I didn't know better, I'd say you were following me. She's like, really? Because I got here first. And he was like, oh, okay, touche. Opens her car door for her. She gets in. She says, thank you. Now, you may not have noticed it, But right when they were talking, right as they started their conversation, it was a bit of a
Mm-hmm.
wide shot, and up in the window there was a figure standing there, like that walked into the frame, into the window.
Yes.
Now we see that it was Charmaine watching this entire and being able to hear this entire exchange. So she
Do
watched
you
this
do
whole
you do you
conversation.
think do you think she heard the conversation?
Yes, because you're right at the window on this part, and you can
Mm-hmm.
hear. I mean, even if she
Okay.
couldn't hear it, even if she heard some of it, the body language, the looks,
Oh
the
yes.
smiles,
Oh
she knew
yes.
what was going on.
Oh yeah. Yeah.
She
I
could
knew
tell.
that.
She could
Right.
tell. She could tell that there was something
Yep.
different. She is
Yeah.
look.
Girlfriend is not happy.
She is
That
not.
we like to call it the sourpuss look. She's going back to her bed or
Oh, she
sitting
went. Yeah,
down
she went to the couch and she sat down,
couch.
and she just looks pissed.
Yeah, she is not happy.
And Jack walks in, and he's in a great
He's
mood.
he's in a
He's
fabulous
he's
mood.
had a good night. He fixed a lock. He just saw Mel. They had a little exchange. He's walking on cloud nine, and then he walks into this Miss
Yeah.
Sourpuss, and he's like, "Hey,
Mm.
sorry I can't stay long." She goes, "Well, I could blame you. I'm kind of miserable. I wouldn't want to be around me either." It's like, "Oh, okay." And
And now,
he's
yeah, the
such a
pity
nice
party
guy.
started. Yeah.
She's like, it's fine. He's like, what can I do? Yeah. What she wants, I don't think he wants.
Hmm.
One thing you can do for me is like, name it. She's like, spend the night with me. And the look on his face is like, she's like, no, 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 not like that. She's like, it's
Mm.
lonely and it's worse at night. And not to mention the house gives her the creeps. He's like, but Hope is here. And she gives him a look like, did you forget that we hate each other? I just want to point that out. And he's like,
Yeah.
Char, um, well, she's like, you can sleep on the couch. And he tries to tell her, I don't think it's a good idea. She says, I don't have family here. The only person I can ask is you. And you keep saying that you're here for me, but then when I need something, you're not. So he agrees to think about it. So
Oh Lord.
she'll take that. She'll take it. She will take any breadcrumb he throws at her, unfortunately.
Yeah. Yeah.
So now we run into Hope at Connie's place, and she's
Mm-hmm.
looking at Connie, who is
Is
exhausted.
exhausted.
She's like, what is wrong with you? And she goes, ugh. She goes, you should take a load off. She goes, I wish I could. It's my niece, Lizzie. She arrived
Mm.
yesterday, a day early, and we were all up all night arguing about her curfew and the length of her dress. Now, Hope reminds her, now keep in mind,
Yes.
Hope has no children,
And no pets.
no pets. She has 3 husbands. So,
Mm-hmm.
for her giving advice, I'm not really
Yeah.
sure that that's the best place to take advice from. But
Tell me
what
about
she
it.
says is actually really smart. She said, look, you tell them what to do. They don't tell you. She's your niece. She's young. You know, she goes, yeah, big talk from a woman who's getting divorced. Exactly, right? She goes, well,
Mm-hmm.
how about I help you out? I'll take her off your hands for the afternoon. I'll show her around and it'll be fine. And she goes, yeah, don't say I didn't warn you because she is a handful. So Lizzie is a young woman. She's about 18 or 19 and full of attitude.
Oh, honey.
Full of attitude.
Attitude is an understatement for what this young lady has.
Oh my gosh. So she introduces her to Hope and
Mm.
informs Lizzie that Hope has graciously offered to give her a tour of the town. Now, Lizzie's reaction?
Hard pass.
Hard pass. Not having it. And that's when Connie starts to take Hope's advice and says, no, you are with Hope. Have a wonderful time. She
And I
didn't give
love
her a
the look.
choice. And guess what? It worked because
Yeah.
she's with Hope now.
Well, it's interesting because you can tell the look on this young woman's face because she comes from, I assume, LA, from, if I remember correctly.
Yes.
And she basically is a spoiled young woman.
Mm-hmm.
So now she's
We'll
been
find
dropped
out.
in the
We'll
middle.
find out how spoiled and what
Exactly.
happened.
But she's been dropped in the middle of no man's
The
land.
wilderness in her mind.
Exactly. So you can imagine what's going through her little brain.
Mm-hmm.
Anyway, we pan off now to Brady
Mm-hmm.
driving up in his pickup truck, or his
Oh, he has
Jeep, I
his
should
little Jeep,
say.
and he's got Calvin as a passenger.
Calvin. Yep.
Calvin's still limping
And
with his cane.
yeah, I think that's a permanent limp
Oh,
because
yeah.
of,
I mean, Mel did what she could, and he was never going to the doctor. So,
right. So he has got a permanent limp.
so,
And
so Calvin informs Brady. Now, he's picked Brady for whatever reason. He sees something in Brady that he can. Another way to say it, he's exploiting Brady because Brady is one of the only connections they have to Virgin River. Remember before Calvin said, we've got police and security and this and that from all the other towns, but Virgin River is like the holdout.
yep.
He couldn't get their grips in, even though that's kind of where their operation is. They're sort of outside of town, so they sort of keep to themselves, and Doc sort of keeps the peace by letting them stay in as long as they stay in their area and they don't bring
Hmm.
their mess to Virgin River. Everybody's happy. Calvin wants a little bit more, wants a little more control, and he figures if he can get Brady under his wing, then maybe that can be what he needs to kind of expand his operation or do more, do better. So he
He's
brings Brady to this place and he tells him that he wants him to run it. And Brady's looking at him like, I don't know anything about logging. He's like, I just want you to be a liaison. You don't really have to know anything. You don't really have to do anything. I just need you here. I just need you to be the go-between. And of course, Brady is very
confused.
suspicious.
Yep.
And Calvin is telling him that they have unorthodox ways of running their business and their business practices. And Brady's like, like what? And he goes, well, logging generally is a day job, but we operate around the clock. And Brady's like, I don't know if I want to do this, but how much is it paying? And he's like, oh, a lot more than you're making bussing tables. A whole lot more. And that alone would get Brady's attention.
Exactly.
I feel like
Let's
if it wasn't anything really bad, Brady would probably do it.
So now we're back at Hope's house, and Mel is doing
Aromatherapy.
aromatherapy with her and trying to help Charmaine breathe in and out by counting and breathing in essential scents.
Yeah, she's
like
using
lavender.
Essential oils because lavender is very calming.
Yes.
And then
And then
Charmaine cannot help herself.
Oh no, she girl, it's like watching an accident. She just could not help herself.
She's supposed to be calming down. Like this is she looks calm for like a second, and the second that Mel took a step backwards, what did she hit her with?
So when did you and Jack make up? Yeah. It's just like, really?
And the look on her face is like smug, like you can't tell me what I don't already know. Kind of cat that ate the canary, like I know your business. But she does. She thinks she knows, and she figures if she's smug about it, maybe somebody will tell her something. And Mel is gonna be cool, and I don't know what you're talking about. She's like, really? Because yesterday he could barely look at you, and today you're flirting in the driveway. She's like, we weren't flirting. She's like, oh, come on. I know it when I see it. She goes, look, we're just friends. Nothing more. She's like, okay, yeah, well, if you and Jack are going to see each other, I want to know.
Why? And that's the question I need to know. Why? Because you're not together.
Because she feels, this is my opinion, she feels like she's having a baby with Jack. So anything that involves Jack is somehow going to involve her. And so she feels, not that it's right, not that it's true, but in her mind, she feels like if something has to deal with him, it will have to deal with her. So if he were to, because if, say, this relationship happens to work out, with Mel and Jack, and, her and Jack have this baby, then this person is going to be in her life forever. And so she's sort of setting the ground rules very, very early. Like her baby's knee high to a grasshopper at this point, and she's already laying the groundwork for this is how it's going to be. Because in a way, she kind of feels like, I'm not going to get him. I'm going to do whatever I can to try to get him, but I'm not going to probably wind up with him. So if I don't stake my claims now of whatever I can get of him, then I'm going to be out. That's just my opinion.
Okay.
So
so Mel says Jack cares
yeah,
about your well-being, and
always
so do I.
brings it back to it's
Yeah,
all about you.
right. And the thing about it is Mel is trying to be professional.
Because she's
And
a good person, and
that's yes, we have said this many times.
she always takes the high road.
She does.
That's it.
So Mel is trying to get her off the subject and says, "Why don't you take a couple of sips?" And she says, "I know Jack cares about me." And Mel says he does.
Oh, and then I love how he's always asking me, what he can do for me, and Mel's like, "Yep, that's sweet. That's great." Like, of course he would. He's even going to start spending the night here so that I'm not all alone. Now, really. And Mel's like, okay. She's like, I think I'm feeling a little better. Could you maybe get me some lemonade? And Mel's like, sure, I think Hope might have some. And then this is when she's going to use and manipulate her as much as possible in this. And Mel didn't want to do this from the beginning because she knew what she was getting herself into.
And this is where Mel's kindness gets the better of her.
It really is. That's okay, because Doc will tell her about it later.
Right. But the thing about it is, first of all, you and I both have discussed, first of all, I would never be doing this.
No.
And second of all, if I was doing that piece of bull she just pulled there,
wouldn't happen.
I'd have nipped that in the I'd have nipped that.
I would have said, Hope's lemonade is just fine, but Charmaine is asking for lemonade from Jack's bar because Preacher does this thing where he combines oranges and lemons and limes, and Mel is like, reluctantly, as she grabs her bag and her coat, sure. And then Charmaine is like, 4, please. Like, what do you need with 4 lemonades? Mm-hmm. But it's almost like a test. Like, is she going to do what I tell her to do? Like, she's just playing with her at this point. This is just like a cat playing with a toy. Mm-hmm. And Mel is just going to take the high road. Sure. Okay. Mm-hmm. I'll be back. Oh, and by the way, Mel, Jack isn't going to be there. Like, she has to throw that in. Like, he's running errands for me in Clear River. And Mel's like, yeah, okay. Just, ugh.
But the thing about things like this is what Charmaine doesn't understand is these things can come back and nip you in the butt.
Always. Karma is an evil bitch. And she will reign for sure.
And Charmaine is about to find that out the hard way. Anyway, so now we're out in the middle of nowhere, and Jack drives up in his truck to where Brady and Calvin and his men are. Oh, this is not good.
Yeah.
This is not good.
Now, he confronts Brady, because Brady had come to him, remember, and he said, I want to run the bar. I have this job opportunity. And he goes, you should probably take it because, you can't even show up on time. How are you going to run my bar? So this was the job with Calvin.
Right.
And that's why Jack says, wow, when you fall hard. Mm-hmm. And Calvin's like, hey, what brings you here? And he goes, I'm looking for a guy, looking for Oxy, and he attacked our nurse at knife point. Remember Mel? She's the one that saved your life last month. And he goes, yeah, I remember her. She's not bad looking either. Isn't that right, Brady? Sweet gal with a knife. That's a shame. And then, I love how he puts it. Opioids truly are a blight on our society. Like you're feeding it. So Jack confronts him and he's like, I find it very difficult that just some random drug addict shows up in Virgin River, especially when we all know what's going on around here. And Calvin's like, what are you trying to say? And he goes, I'm not saying anything. I'm telling you. So Calvin claims that all of his guys are clean, and that he doesn't mix business with pleasure, and that he doesn't know anything about this person that he's looking for. And Jack wants to look around. And Calvin is like, nope, sorry, no tours today, my friend.
And Brady stops him.
Mm-hmm. And then, of course, he calls Jimmy. I just call him Jiminy Cricket because he's so little.
Yeah, he Mr. Hothead.
Yeah, Jimmy comes down, and of course he has to flash his gun because he's big man on campus. And he's like, do you need a hand getting back into your truck? And Jack is looking at Brady like, you're okay with all this? And he's like, just go, Jack. And he warns Brady, watch your back. And he was like, yeah, it's not your concern. I got it under control. And he was like, yeah, I don't know about that. And Calvin warns Jack that next time he feels like dropping by, don't. And he just warns Calvin, keep your trash out of Virgin River. And that's, I mean, if they were to just stay separate, like do your business, do what you got to do, just don't bring it into the town, then we're fine. Like nobody's going to bother you. Now, Calvin confronts Jimmy and he's like, hey, I thought you took care of Leo. Leo must have been the guy that attacked Mel.
Mel,
and he's like, I watched him pack. And he goes, well, maybe he needs a little more encouragement because we can't have anything coming back on us. This is not good because once they start stirring up trouble in town, that brings the heat to him and he doesn't want any of that.
So now we find ourselves with Hope
and Lizzie.
And she's showing her around town. I find this so amusing that Hope thinks she can somehow entertain a teenager.
Right.
But
from LA. But LA, this is a different kind of, that's a whole different breed.
Yeah.
Especially this one, because knowing her family a little bit.
Exactly. She's a spoiled, pampered, rich little kid. So that elevates the whole thing to another different level.
And Hope's trying to relate to her. She's like, well, do you like this? Do you like that? How about we have a theater? This is our theater. And she goes, do you like theater? She goes, no, I don't like people looking at me. Okay. And she goes, well, what do you like? And so, she's a kid. She likes hanging out with her friends and shopping. And she goes, oh, there's a bigger town. They have fashionable stores right on Main Street. Now, Lizzie's like, what do you mean by fashionable? I love how she says a bedazzled denim shop.
And I love the look on Lizzie's face like, oh my God, somebody dropped me in the Twilight Zone.
Right?
How do I get out of here?
What is going on with you people? Embroidery. And she's like, oh my goodness. She goes, yeah, does it include poodle skirts? She goes, well, I didn't say it was Milan. So then she offers to take her to Jack's bar for a salad. And she goes, well, I do like bars. And that look on Hope's face is like, oh, uh-oh. Now, of course, beautiful scenery, the mountains, some deer. I mean, I seriously want to go there. I want to live there. I want to be in Virgin River. It would be so
As you and I have said before, you need to get the children out of your house and then you and your husband can go find a place in a place like Virgin River.
Yeah, I'll have to.
So now
I'll have to work on that for the next few years.
Yeah. So now we're back at Jack Bar.
Preacher has made the 4 lemonades, and all of a sudden, who should she run into?
Jack.
She's like, "Hey, what?" And Charmaine said that you were in Clear River. He goes, "No, I was up at Calvin's, still looking for that guy who attacked you." And she's like, "Oh my God, do you really think that's a good idea? He's probably long gone by now." Like, she is trying to, she knows that guy's trouble. She doesn't want Jack mixed up with all that. I mean, now that they have this connection, now she cares more than she did before about his well-being and does not want him mixing it up with Calvin. So he agrees that maybe it's not the best idea, but his thing is if you don't stand up to bullies, they just keep coming. And she's like, well, Jack, you can't protect everyone. And I love this line. He goes, well, I'm a swing for the fences kind of guy. And it's true. She's like, I know. Oh, my gosh. And so he, again, because remember, he's the one that asked her when she went running that day and they ran into each other. And he was like, can you please help Charmaine? If anything happened to her and the baby, then I would never forgive myself. And so this is his opportunity to say, I just want to say thank you for helping her out. I mean, she's going to be difficult, but she does have a big heart. And she's like, yeah, okay, it's not a problem. So now she's trying to leave. It's so funny. She cannot get out of the bar. She gets stopped by literally every single person. It takes her like 15 minutes to get out of this bar. All she did was want to come in and buy lemonade. So first she gets stopped by Jack. Now, as she's walking toward the door, she runs into Hope and Lizzie. And so Hope introduces, here's the newest resident. She's, I'm just visiting. Connie's niece, Liz, right? Corrects her. Lizzie, sorry. Oh, gotcha. They exchange a few glances. She goes, wow, she seems sweet. He goes, yeah, Connie's having a heck of a time with her. Maybe you guys have something in common. Hope's like, what? Hard on the outside, soft on the inside? She goes, we're women, not a couple of cannolis. So funny. Again, Mel's trying to leave. She gets another step, and who does she run into? Doc. Preacher's packing up his lunch. He's like, hey, what are you doing? Oh, I'm getting my patient some lemonade. He goes, what, you're moonlighting as a waitress?
A waitress?
Trying to help her relax. You know, you've been up there all day. I mean, God, I would have had that IV hooked up by now. And she reminds him that they have different styles and that her approach is very different. He reminds her that, guess what? You're the medical professional. She's the patient. You can't let them walk all over you. And sometimes you have to stand up to them and help them figure out what it is they need. Like, help them get to that faster.
You're the one that was pushing me to do this, remember?
Yep.
And
she did not want to get
involved with this case. He says you have to separate business from pleasure.
Yeah. He's like, well, every situation is different. And he agrees, but he's like, look, you have to learn how to motivate your patient to do what's in their own best interest. And he does have good advice.
Oh, yeah, it is very good advice.
Lead, follow, or get out of the way.
Definitely.
And she's like, okay. You know what, Doc? You're absolutely right. Thank you. And she finally gets out of the bar, like, after all that.
So finally, a preacher brings Doc his lunch. And then we see the awkward teenage moments.
Yes, Ricky tries to take Lizzie's order.
And basically, he can't even look her in the face. And he is like talking.
He's stuttering. And she's like, are you having a seizure? And he's like, no. And she's like, can you grab me a beer? And he's like, sure. And then he leaves. And he goes to Preacher. And he's like, I need a beer. And Preacher's like, who's it for? And Hope turns around. And Preacher looks. And they're all like, uh-huh. And you know what Preacher pours? Probably like a soda or a water. And he goes, here. He goes, oh, man, she's going to be mad.
I had to give her a root beer. You want a beer? Here's a beer.
Yep, root beer. So Hope's asking about Paige and confirming that the rumor that she heard was that her father's sick. And he's like, yeah, it's a tough situation. And give her my best when you talk to her. And
it's so funny how the news gets around this town. Oh my goodness.
Nothing is sacred. Nothing is sacred.
No, nothing is sacred.
Jack's looking for some invoice, and Preacher's like in his own world, and he was like, I'm looking for the invoice. Oh, yeah, I took care of it. He's like very distracted. And Jack notices, and he's like, are you okay? Like, what's going on with you? And he goes, yeah, I'm just trying to figure out how to keep the bakery truck running. I mean, we're barely making it here, and now I've got this bakery truck to worry about. And he's like, well, you know what? Connie's family used to own a bakery. Why don't you go talk to her? Maybe she can help you out. So he takes that advice. He's like, okay, all right. You know, I mean, everybody, the thing is, no matter what, everyone always pulls together and helps everyone else. It's always really nice.
So Mel is now back at Hope's house, and she's struggling with these 4 lemonades. And what happens? All 4 lemonades fall on the ground.
Yep.
And Mel is now pissed.
She leaves them there. She doesn't even pick them up.
No, she just walks back into the house. Charmaine asks what happened to the lemonade, and she says
they're all over the driveway. And she's such a bitch. She's like, oh, I lost my craving anyway.
It's
really?
just like, So Mel is trying to tell her that it's time to continue the therapy.
She offers reflexology, and she's like, oh, I don't like people touching my feet. And she's like, well, guess what? We're running out of time. She's like, so are you always this pushy? She goes, yeah, when it comes to the health of my patients, I am.
Oh, and I love this line where she says, Jack hates pushy women. What the hell do you know about Jack? And
Mel just smiled. She's like, okay, take a deep breath. Just take a deep breath. She's like, let's start with some meditation. She goes, yeah, actually, I'm a little sleepy. I think I'm just going to go take a nap.
And then Mel decides, okay.
That's it. I'm going to call in the reinforcements to have them ready because I'm not doing this with you, sister.
Nope.
So she calls Doc, and she basically tells him, I'm going to need you on standby to take Charmaine to the hospital. Because in her mind, this isn't going to work. She's not going to let me help her, and she doesn't want to be helped. that
Yeah.
she's going to
And
leave herself no opportunity and no choice.
you know how you always say people have to have their when moment?
Yep.
Okay. She's had her
She
when
had it.
moment with
She
Charm.
she
That's
tried.
it.
She literally
She
tried.
right. She did everything she was supposed to do, and now this you know what
This is where we're
is
at.
mm-hmm. So, oh, you're gonna try this with me? All right, let's see how it feels when you're on the receiving end now.
Yeah, because I think she thinks she can just keep manipulating her, and Mel's only going to let her
Oh,
do that for so long, and then she's going to
right,
throw in the
exactly.
towel and be like, "I'm going to let Doc handle it because
Mm,
clearly you don't want my help. I'm literally trying to help you. Like I don't have
mm-hmm.
to, but I'm doing it anyway, and you're not letting me.
Yeah,
So you will face the music for it." So now we're
that's
back at
right.
Jack's
So,
bar, and Lizzie and Hope are sitting down having some lunch. Lizzie just not in the best mood, and she's like, this is the best burger in town. And she's like, this is the only place to eat around here. And she goes, yeah, I just wanted to see if you were paying attention. Like she's trying to relate with her and trying to have a conversation. She's like, this place is lame, right? And she's like, because Hope has a snarky attitude, and
which
so
relates well with Lizzie,
very
I
well
have
with
to say,
Lizzie.
because I could see Hope being Lizzie at this age.
Absolutely,
Uh,
hundred
you know
percent.
what I mean? So with a chip on her
Yep,
shoulder, and
thinking she knows everything.
just being obnoxious.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely.
Just being obnoxious. So anyway,
So she's like, this town. She goes, ugh. She goes, as you get older, what you think of fun changes, you know? And she goes, I like to garden and, watch my TV shows and be left alone. And she goes, yeah, because your life is boring and you're waiting for it to end. She's like, I want to go to LA. I want to party my ass off while I still can. She goes, first
mm,
of all, Hope tells her, my life isn't almost over. And second, you want to survive on your own in LA? Yeah, Mel, who you just met, she could probably give you a couple pointers because that's where she's from. She goes, so when you go back to LA, and she's like, what, you think I should go back to LA? And she's like, I don't know. But she said, Connie says that LA is the devil's workshop, whatever that means. And Hope reminds her,
uh,
guess what? You know what? You can get in trouble anywhere. So it
that's
really
so
doesn't
true.
matter. She lets her in on a little secret that when she was her age, she got married because she thought that there was nothing else to do. And it was a huge mistake. There are worse things in life than being bored. So then she gets her credit card out, she puts it on the table, and she's like, when preacher comes for the check, can you pay for it? And she leaves, probably, go to the bathroom or whatever.
And that, and then we see that look
Lizzie,
on
mm-hmm.
looks at the credit card, and that is not a look of somebody who's doing something good. That's a look of I'm up to mischief.
Oh,
I'm up
yeah.
to no good.
Like, ooh,
Look.
opportunity just knocked on the door and I opened it.
Mm. Mm-hmm. So now we're back at Doc's, and who should walk
Yes,
into Doc's office?
Muriel shows up with some goodies.
Mm-hmm.
Now, she had mentioned to him when they were on their date the night before, when they were playing backgammon and having wine, that strawberries were his favorite fruit. So
That's
she
right.
made him a strawberry shortcake. And he
Yes,
was
she
like,
did.
oh, she's like, my mother's recipe. Oh, you shouldn't have gone to all this trouble. Oh, no trouble at all. I love baking, especially for my friends. Yeah, she
Mm-hmm.
comes armed with a plate and a spoon and a
And
fork, like
then,
she's ready.
and he tastes it, and he says it tastes like summer. Ah, he's enjoying it. And she says light and fluffy. He said, whatever it is, it's amazing. And so now she throws the kicker. So that was the setup.
That just got
Now
her in the
here,
door.
exactly.
Yes, food got her in the door. Now she's gonna make a home for herself, or she's certainly gonna try.
And then she lays it on it.
It's like
That
Vivaldi is playing in Clear River. I saw it in the paper, wondering if you would be interested in going. Maybe take Hope. And he's like, yeah, classical music for Hope? Not her thing. It's like, how can anyone not like classical music? I just don't understand it. She
mm-hmm.
thinks that it's for people who are putting on airs. She's like, well, I guess everyone is entitled to their opinion. They apparently, him and Hope have very different interests. And Muriel's like,
Yes.
well, I'm gonna go, and I don't know, maybe we could go together.
Mm-hmm.
So he's
There,
like,
and that's the setup. That's the zinger.
Yeah.
That's the zinger.
Now, the things that Muriel and him have in common are all the things that him and Hope don't. Because
That's
him and
true.
Hope have a ton of things in common and they've been together for a million years. But there are certain things that it just so happens that Muriel is involved with that are the
Yep.
things that Doc likes that Hope doesn't. So that's the way she's been working on slowly pulling him in. Slowly and slowly, the backgammon and now the classical music and the fact that she cooks and bakes where Hope barely cooks and bakes. So these are all the
Yep.
things that she's trying to
Yep.
appeal to his better nature,
Well, yeah,
hoping she can pull him
she
away from Hope.
exactly, and she made the man's favorite, one of his favorite things,
Yep.
which is with strawberries.
Yep.
And I find it's interesting how she's weaseling her way
Oh
into
yeah,
his.
she's trying.
Oh, so now we're back at Hope's house,
Yep. And Mel is
and
making another run at Charmaine, knocking on the door, and she was like, "Can you come back later? I'm exhausted." Mel is like, "No, I'm sorry, but we need to get you hydrated, and my way is not working." And Charmaine agrees. And so she said, "Okay, well, the only option is to call Doc, and he'll just have to drive you to the hospital." And she's like, "I already told you I'm not going to the hospital." She's like, "Look, I'm doing the best I can. You're not giving me any choice." And Charmaine is like, "Look, I'm not going." And she goes, "Well, too bad. It's between you and Doc now." And then we find out why she doesn't want to go to the hospital. Her mom had cancer, and she died slowly and horribly in that hospital. And so hospitals are not somewhere that she ever wants to go. She doesn't even want to have a baby in a hospital because she's so, I guess, traumatized by what had happened with her mom in the hospital and that it makes her sick. And Mel, who, no matter what, this woman has had so much happen in her life that she can
Mhm.
literally empathize with almost every terrible thing that anyone has ever been through because it's probably happened to her.
Yeah, it's true.
Every time somebody says, "Oh, yes, she has had an experience too," which just, I mean, how she's even standing is beyond me. But, you know, so she tells her, she goes, I understand. And she goes, "Yeah, nobody understands how hard it was for me." And then she tells her that her mom died of cancer when she was 11. And she's like, "Oh, and these are these things that come out slowly. Like Mel is not
Yes.
one to share her business with anyone.
It also shows you how Charmaine is oblivious to other people
Oh,
when she says
completely.
this bullshit. Excuse my French.
No,
Because
completely.
she
Absolutely.
because everything Charmaine is going through, she assumes that nobody else in the world goes through this
Mm-hmm.
stuff. And the things that come out of her mouth, it's like when she first found out about her condition
Oh, yeah.
and she
And
was
she just
yelling
went
at
off on Mel and said that.
red off at Mel. It's the same thing she's doing now. She's making assumptions about people without knowing who people are. And
Yeah.
I,
But
I
she
guess
doesn't, the
it's
thing is, she doesn't care who people are either.
that's true, but I think it's also I and this is gonna probably get me into trouble. This is someone who I feel is uneducated and is not aware of the world around her and is sort of, it's all about me and is not understanding that there are people in the world who, while you may not agree with them, may have had their own demons and their own things.
Right.
And she is just like, this is the second time she's done this.
Mm-hmm.
And it's like, girlfriend, I need to bitch slap you here
And
because
this is the
you just,
second time that when she says something that could be so hurtful. I mean, like Mel
mm-hmm.
could have said when she said the other thing, she could have come out
Yes.
and told her side, her story. But you
Yeah.
know what? She doesn't need to do that because she
And she
understands that
doesn't
people
need
are
to. Yeah.
upset, people are mad,
Yeah.
people are venting, that people are reacting to the situation, and she's used to it. And she's just honestly a better person, you
Yes,
know?
she is.
Now
She
this
most
time
definitely.
it was appropriate for her to share her story,
Yes.
but she
Mm-hmm.
doesn't need to go into it. She just, "Look, I get it, and this is why." And she
Mm-hmm.
explains to her that her mother died when she was 11, and that and it was almost like, I know you're upset and I know that this is hard for you, but her end game is to help her. And the way to
Yep.
help her is to empathize with her. I hear you, I understand, I acknowledge what you're saying, but you have to look beyond that. You have to do better, because now it's not just you're thinking of. You have a baby to think about, and you need to take care of yourself so that we can take care of the baby. And the only reason she told her this, because if it wasn't for the baby, if it was just Charmaine, she'd probably been like, look,
Yeah,
you do you.
exactly. Should have left her sorry
She
butt
would
right
have
where it
left her.
is.
But because there's now a baby involved and she's a midwife, that is her priority, is to make sure that this baby is okay. She wasn't going to let it go.
Yeah.
So she's like, it was a really long time ago, but she still remembers when her mom was in the last day in the hospital, and it was one of the worst days of her life. So she explained, she's like, I'm sorry. Like, it knocks her down a peg.
It does.
It humanizes her a little bit. It's like, you know what? Stop being that and start thinking about your baby. And she's like,
Yeah.
I didn't know that was in your life.
And the thing is, you don't have to know. You have to stop being a bitch.
Yeah.
You have to stop doing this, because you're making assumptions about Mel every single time.
Well, because
you're
she's so stuck on the fact that Mel's trying to steal Jack that she can't even see past anything else. That's her whole thing. It's like everything is against Mel. Doesn't matter what she's there to do. She's still pissed, and that's the underlying thing that's just
that's
right
what's
there.
driving
it's like
her.
bubbling up to the surface. And Mel, because Mel is a professional, and she says to her, I'm genuinely trying to help you. Like, Mel has put aside the Jack and the Charmaine and the Mel triangle and all of that. Like, she's not even thinking about that, because her goal is to make sure that this woman is okay, because that's her job.
Yeah.
And Charmaine finally relents. She's like, I know. She's like, okay, fine. Well, what about that foot thing? And she's like, and Mel's like, reflexology? And she's like, yeah. And then she can actually call her on it. She's like, well, you are going to have to cooperate. And Charmaine's like, I know. Okay, I will. Like, it's like they finally have a breakthrough. Finally a breakthrough. So now we're in the kitchen, and and Hope walks into Doc, and he's like, what? And she's like, I lost something. And he's like, okay, what did you lose? And she's like, I'd rather not say. Okay, good. Good luck then. Like, how do you want me to help you? And he's like, Lizzie. He's like, you lost a human being? It's like, well, we were at the bar, and I had to go to the restroom. When I came out, she was gone. And so was my credit card. And so he's like, did you try to call Connie? He's like, oh, yeah, you think I want to call Connie? Then she'd be gloating. He's like, well, what about the sheriff? It's like, well, she's just a brat, She's not dangerous. So can you please just help me find her? He's like, look, I would love to, but if you want to find the girls, you got to go where the boys are. So
I just love how she treats this poor man.
I know.
And who should show up at the exact same time but Connie?
Yep. Connie's like, I knew you would find here. How's it going with Lizzie? Oh, great. We're having a marvelous time getting to know each other. It's fabulous. She goes, fine. I lost her. I spent the last 45 minutes scouring the town. She's like, hate to say it, but I told you so.
And I love the look on Connie's face. She loves giving that little, she gets a little dig. And she said, she came home.
She's like, she came home an hour ago, and I put a card in her purse. It's like, oh my God. And she's like, I don't know what I'm going to do with this girl. It'd be easier living with a honey badger. She's like, what a disaster. I'm never going to live this down.
No,
and Doc's like, see, the thing is, Doc takes everything that she dishes out to him, but you notice he always ends up on top in the end. Because
yes, he does.
He's like, because he'll tell her straight up, like, you shouldn't do this, but then she does it anyway, and then he's like, all right.
But you and I both know that Hope is her own worst enemy.
Always. That poor woman. She needs to get out of her own way. That's her problem. She is her own worst enemy. It's terrible.
Yeah, there's no recovering from that. Anyway, so now we're back at Hope's house, and Mel has all the essential oils.
And she's trying the reflexology with Charmaine, and she's
Mm-hmm.
just asking her to breathe and inhale, and she's doing pressure points.
Mm-hmm.
And this is the doing the last pressure point, and she's just reminding her that with reflexology, sometimes your emotions take over, and
And Charmaine is sort of weeping silently.
she tells her that it releases endorphins, and that can really cause your emotions to take over, and that and then Charmaine says that if the situation were
Uh-huh.
reversed, that
Yeah.
she would not help Mel. And Mel is
Yeah,
like,
well.
"What?" And she's like, "Ugh. I mean, if I were you, I wouldn't help me." And Mel said, "Yeah, I think you would." And she goes, "Yeah, only a perfect person would say that." And Mel's like, I am far from perfect, Charmaine. Far from perfect." She's like, "I've been horrible to you." And she's like, "You've been through a lot." And she's proud of her for sticking through it and not giving up. And while she's talking to her, she's preparing to put the IV in. And she's like, "I'm proud that you're putting your baby's needs before your own, and that you're going to be a great mom. Just close your eyes." And she gets, and this needle that she puts in, it's called a butterfly needle. It's one of the smallest ones. It's really tiny.
Mm.
So it's a lot. I mean, as far as needles to choose to do this is probably the best one because it's really, really tiny.
Yes, it is.
And she puts it in very carefully. She must be very good at her job because she doesn't flinch, she doesn't move, and it's all over with. And Charmaine's like, "Is it in?" And Mel's like, "It is." And it's already done. And she sets it up, she puts the medicine in, she gets the fluids going, and
And Charmaine is very relieved.
very relieved. And Mel's like, "You know what? You're going to start to feel better really soon." And she says, "Thank you." It's like everyone is like sighing, a deep breath. And then Charmaine starts to cry. And Mel, because she's just such a wonderful person, actually hugs her. Like, I
That's
don't
her.
think I'm sorry. That's just
You
a
know where my
bridge too far.
exactly. You know where my brain's going in this one. It's just like, yeah.
You'd be lucky I came back after you sent me to get freaking lemonade.
Lemon.
Mel is just a
It's just,
better person than all of us, I guess.
oh,
Because
she
I don't
most
know very many
definitely
people
is.
that would put up with her shenanigans.
Oh
But she gives her
God,
a hug. She tells her she's going to be all right. And,
mm,
she checks the IV and gets everything running and kind of gets her tucked in under the
and Doc
covers. And
and
Doc
Doc
is
shows
there.
and gives the nod of
Yes. The
approval.
appreciative nod and the approval. Like, good job,
And who should be waiting outside? But Jack
Jack.
sitting on the porch.
Now, he gets a phone call, and it's Mike. Now, Mike is his
Yeah,
buddy. He's one of his
military
Marine, yes,
friends.
one of his Marine buddies, and Mike is now a detective in LA. And so he has reached out to him to see if he can help in any way with this guy who attacked Mel and the pot camp connection and just anything he can do, you know?
Yeah,
So,
Mike works with narcotics,
right.
so he figures that
He might know
Mike can.
something, I mean, they're not
Yeah.
that far apart, so
Mm,
distance wise and proximity, so there might be some word. So so Mike has checked out the Humboldt County Sheriff's Office, which is the county that Virgin River is under,
mm,
and he's trying to find out some information for him. And
mm.
that way they've already got Calvin on their radar. I mean, for his illegal, pot camp, and Mike seems to think that Calvin is possibly branching out, and he's going to be checking into things, and he's going to let Jack know if he finds out anything. I mean, there's all they can do is check. I mean, if he hasn't actually done anything yet or been caught for anything yet,
And
then
they
there's not
can't
a
do
lot they can
anything.
do. But all the guys are going to town in the next little bit for a reunion with the Marine guys. So Mike's hoping that by the time he gets there for the reunion, that maybe he has come up with some information.
Yep. So then he gets off the phone with Mike, and Mel walks out the door.
And Jack's just there to see how things are going. Yeah,
Mm-hmm.
he's really there to see how. He could care less that Charmaine's there. He just wants to get a look
Exactly.
at Mel. So
And she tells him that he got the IV in, and now she's sleeping, and he's impressed
he's like,
that
"Wow, little miracle worker. She hates needles.
Mm-hmm.
And I love the looking them up and down. That was cute. That
Mm-hmm.
was like,
Yep.
I'm just going to get a little look at you, and then I just need to back away slowly. So she has something else that
So,
she wants to do for her, and that she's going to head over to Grace Valley, and then she'll be back.
mm-hmm.
And
And
he,
he tries to invite himself along
yes, he's like, let me
as
drive
such.
you, because, you've been working all day, and, we can maybe, you probably haven't eaten. We can stop and grab something to eat on the way.
And she says, I think I'm better off by myself.
And she,
But I love the little cute little toss the hair and turn around back at him and smile.
well, she's like,
It's
he's
like,
like, oh, by the time you get back, it's going to be dark. And she's like, Jack, you don't have to worry about me. I'm going to be fine. Yes. And then, of course, the hair toss. And he's like, are you sure there's nothing I can do to change your mind? And
he wants
she's
an
like,
invitation.
I'm sure. It's okay. I'll just watch you walk away.
Oh, yes, they're too adorable.
The looks and the stares.
Yes, indeed. So now Preacher goes to Connie's, and who should he run into? Oh,
Brady.
Brady. And
he asks him, so
now,
how are things at the bar?
And the thing is, he doesn't understand that he's messing with the wrong person.
I know, because Preacher has absolutely negative
Tolerance.
zero patience for Brady.
No, none whatsoever.
Like, if you want somebody to talk to, then you go talk to Jack, because Preacher's not having it.
No. And now he's relieved, he says. Preacher says he's relieved that he's not there.
Oh, yeah. He's like, how are things at the bar? He's like, steady, smooth, and reliable, because you're not a part of it. And he's like, oh, miss you too, big guy. He goes to put his hand on his shoulder, and he's like, do not touch me.
And then he says, just trying
to put the past behind me. And Preacher just calls him out. He's like, look, you never take responsibility for anything. You don't care no matter who you hurt, no matter what you do.
Mm-hmm.
And he's like, well, we can't all be choir boys. He goes, yeah, but we can be decent human beings. And then Brady's like, I'll save this debate for the reunion. And Preacher's like, excuse me? And he was like, oh, yeah, the guys are telling me that we're going to hit the trails and we're going to kayaking and all of that. And Preacher looks at him, and Brady laughs. He goes, calm down. I have better things to do than swap stories with a bunch of war guys. Besides, I just bought a new car.
Mm-hmm.
And he kind of digs on Preacher
Brady,
by saying, maybe your boss ought to give you a raise so you can get a better looking car, because
Yeah.
Preacher.
And he's and Preacher just looks at him like, you're just a little man.
Yeah, for a little man, you got a big mouth.
Got a big mouth. And Brady realizes he's been put in his place.
He doesn't care. He just doesn't care, because in his mind, I'm making all kinds of money.
Mm-hmm. So he comes in to see Connie, and
he's all riled up. And he goes,
mm-hmm.
I love it. She calls him this is how you always know she's from the South, because all the little phrases that she uses, that he's one bad penny.
Exactly.
Like, yeah.
So he's there to talk to her about
the pastry truck.
About the bakery truck. And she's like, I don't know, I have so much going on. And he's saying this would be a huge favor to him, because between him running the bar and trying to help Paige out, and Connie's like, so her father's sick. Do you know when and then all of a sudden Connie says, I thought he passed away. And he's like, no.
He just abandoned the family when they were young, and then showed up like 10 years later. And she's like, wow, that's very forgiving of her to go out and take care of him now when he did that. And she's like, well, that's Paige. And he goes, is that why Wes was here? And Preacher's like, oh, she goes, I had no idea she was married. Did you? And she goes, Connie, by chance, did you tell anyone else about Wes visiting? She's like, oh, God, no. When Lizzie got here, it was just everything I could handle. And I didn't even think about it. And he's like, I need to ask you a favor. Never mention Wes again to anyone. She's like, oh, okay. But very oddly, like,
right. She has that
very
look of
perplexed. Yeah.
Yeah, she's like, what's going on? And you're not sure.
Yeah.
Anyway, and he leaves Connie. He
now,
walks out.
Again, I love this scene. It's so funny. This is so funny. So Mel's in her car, and she's heading to Clear River to run an errand for Charmaine, and her phone rings, and it's her sister.
It's her sister.
And she's like, oh my gosh, I finally got to talk to you. And Mel's like, I'm sorry. Things have been kind of crazy since I got here. And she's like, crazy good or crazy bad? And she's like, well,
I'm sorry, I would have never confessed this to my
okay,
sister,
but
but
keep in mind, they have no
yes, I
parents, they
know.
have no other siblings, they literally have no one else in their lives. They only have each other, and they've only had each other. Their dad died 10 years ago. For 10
Yeah,
years. They have, I
yeah.
mean, she was married, but now he's gone too, and his family was crap.
Hmm.
So she has no one else. Probably, and it doesn't even sound like when she left LA that she even had any friends that she kept in touch with. So,
Hmm.
because her friends may have been his friends also, and that may have been too painful. So, she's basically by herself. Her sister is the only person in her life.
Yeah, true,
And
true.
so she's saying that things have been crazy, and her sister's like, well, like what? And she's like,
I slept with
I
Jack.
slept with Jack. And then she makes that face. She
And I
scrunches up
love
her
this.
nose like, ugh, I don't
I,
really know if I.
and
Ugh.
but the thing is, I love the pan over to her sister's face,
She
who
has to
goes
sit down. She goes, well, I did not. It's not what I thought you were going to say.
exactly, because the look on her face is like somebody just hit her and knocked the air out of her.
Right?
Because
Right?
that she was not. If all the things her sister would have told her, that was not going to be one of them. She thought it would be.
Exactly. She goes, yeah, I know. I still can't believe it happened. And she's kind of like, oh my God. And now only her sister would ask this. Most people would not ask this. And she's
That's
like, how
true.
was it? And Mel's like, well, unfortunately, it was phenomenal. And she's like, oh, so does that mean like you guys are together now? Or like, what? She's like, I don't know. He wants to be, but there's a baby and everything. And it's just so. And Joey's like, messed up. And he said that
Mm.
he's not in love with her. It's like, yeah, that's what he says. But once he becomes a father, he might feel differently about her. And baby can drive couples apart, but they can also bring them together. That is an Easter egg for later. That phrase right there will
Mm-hmm.
be very poignant in like season 5. So people that are watching have never watched the show before and have not watched, if you remember that line, that will become very poignant
Yes,
down the road a piece.
yes, it will
And I don't
be.
need to say why because you'll get there.
Mm.
So she doesn't know how Jack's going to react until the baby comes, which is why Mel feels like they should just stay friends. And Joey's like, is that really what you want? Well, she's like, no, but after Mark, she just can't survive losing someone else that she cares about. And Joey's reminding her, you know what? Most people only find love once in their life. And if you can find it twice, like why would you not embrace that?
Yep, I
And so
agree.
then she jokes with her. She's like, "Why not just let your call go to voicemail?" Like she knows all this, but she certainly does not want to hear it. And she's like,
Well,
"Oh, because
that's
you love me."
the voice of an adult sister.
I know.
So now we're back at
Hope's house. Yes, and she's having some wine, and Doc sneaks up behind her, getting a little love in. And apparently, she feels like her guest room is now has an open door policy because people come and in and out. Nobody knocks. Everybody just walks in. She wants to charge an entrance fee. And he's like, you've been very patient with Charmaine. He's like, yeah, you're buttering me up for something. What? And he's like, well, there's this concert, and I was wondering if you wanted to go. It's in Clear River on Thursday. And she's like, who's playing? If you say Richard Thompson, then you get a triple gold star and an extra helping of dessert. And he was like, no, no, no. It's Vivaldi. It's a string quartet. She goes, as Lizzie would say, hard pass. And he's like, are you sure? He's like, oh, couldn't be more positive. Like, Vivaldi is not her thing. He says, well, would you mind if I go without you? And she's like, oh, knock yourself out. He goes, well, Muriel's going. Oh, perfect second date. Absolutely. It's public. That's exactly what I was thinking. And he's just like,
he's perplexed.
why are you pushing me with this other woman?
Mm-hmm.
Ugh. So he's got to figure that out. But whatever, maybe he'll get to go see some string quartet, which is really what he wants to do anyway. I mean, these are things that he can't experience with her. He'd have to experience them by himself. So Jack is now here with Charmaine and Mel.
Yep. And what Mel went to get for her was an ultrasound
Yep, a
machine.
portable
A
ultrasound.
portable
And he
a
was like,
portable
isn't that
ultrasound.
so great of Mel so that we can see the baby? And now, okay, every smile this poor man has in the next 5 minutes is the most forced, uncomfortable, I don't want to be here type smile.
Mm-hmm.
It's kind of sad. But he's
It
just
is.
like, okay, I'm in it to win it. So she's like, with everything that she's done for me, I can see why you admire her so much. She's like, yeah, it's not a big deal. She goes, well, it is to us. So she's like, she puts the stuff on her tummy and she's moving it around and she's looking to see. And there's this beautiful song in the background. I love the music on this show. It's really very
Mm-hmm.
good.
The music is great, yeah.
Really, really good. And
And
Mel's
then Mel
looking and she's
and
looking.
she has this very intense look on her face now. And it's scary because you don't know what it
Right.
means
As a
because
medical
it's so in
professional, she knows,
yeah,
but the parents generally look at the medical professional and are like, what?
right.
And Charmaine's looking a little worried. She's looking at Jack. Jack's looking a little worried. He's like, what is it? She's like, the baby. And then Mel's like, babies. And Jack is like, sorry, I thought you said babies. And he kind of forced chuckle. And she's like, I did. With a, and then she has to like take that second, compose herself to look at
Exactly.
them and smile because she has to pretend that she's happy for them, but so
Mm-hmm.
sad for herself. You're
Yep.
having twins. And she looks at
Yep.
Jack like, oh shit.
And Jack's
And Jack's
face
looking at
drops.
Charmaine like, oh shit. And looking
Yeah.
at Mel like, what? Like this was
Yeah.
bad and now it's double
Now
bad?
Did double exactly.
And she's like, wow. And that's where the
Wow.
fake smile, like, thank God he has dimples. That'll cover it up a little bit. She's excited. She's happy. She's like, oh my God. And he's looking at her like, I just want to die. And
Mhm.
Mel is like, oh yeah. With her lovely smile, like, uh huh. Yep. Everything looks good. Everything looks fine. You're good.
And and it ends right there.
Oh my
Uh,
gosh.
just when this couple didn't think things could get any worse in their lives, the
No.
writers decide to do a double bang
Yeah.
and give us twins.
Like,
Oh boy.
really?
Yep.
Oh my gosh.
It's just like, yeah, like Jack needed this and Mel needed this. And no, they did not.
Yeah.
Anyway,
Oh my gosh.
well,
That's
folks.
that's a way to end it. Boy, like I've said before, it seems like every episode has a
Mm-hmm.
cliffhanger, but fortunately, you only have to wait about 37 seconds and you can see what happens unless it's like the end of the season when it's a season finale, then it's like a year. Because when
Yep.
when the episodes come out, they all come out at once. Everyone binge watches them and
Mm,
by the time the season is ready to start, you've waited a year. I mean, you finish the season, they probably have either just finished filming the next season or they're in the process of post-production and you've got months and months and months to wait. Like we are right now. Like right now it's mid-September. They finished filming May 31st and we're waiting to find out when the season drops. The
yep.
word is season 6 will come out probably. It's supposed to be before the end of the year. We're not sure if that's a full season or if they're going to split it.
I hope they don't split it because I hate when they split the season.
I know. I have my own reasons why I hope they split it, but that's
Yes,
for
I know
another day.
you do.
That's for another day.
Yes.
It would be awesome. I mean, they're definitely. I mean, Alex Breckenridge was on her Instagram and said for sure, 100%, something is dropping before the end of the year. We just don't know what. She has an exact date. She found out an exact date. She, I guess, badgered them to tell her, as long as she swore not to share, which of course she did. And now we just have to wait.
She didn't share enough for us to get excited about. Let's put it that way.
Well, because it was still up in the air that the season was even going to drop this year, because they've been saying for months and months and months, first quarter 2025. And when Netflix came out with their list of shows that are going to premiere in 24 and shows that are going to premiere in 25, Virgin River was on the 25 list, like other shows that have a lot of post production, like Stranger Things and other things. As of a few months back, it was set for next year. And then that's why I kind of feel like that they are able to get half of the season possible. That's what I'm kind of hoping. That if we can have something, because I would rather have something rather than have to wait until like February or March next year, you know? Like if we can only get half, I'd rather just get half. At least it's something. Because waiting another 4 or 5 months, it's a lot. It's a lot. It's a lot. So, and that's the difference between a streaming show and a network show. Because with the network shows, I mean, you know, we've said it before. They work all year. They have a few months off, but they work continuously. You know, by the time an episode is filming and they produce it, they're working on the next one, and then they produce it, and it's like things are coming out as they're still working, so it's like a constant revolving basis. Whereas with a lot of streaming shows that are limited episodes, you know, they go, they make it, and then it takes months. That's just the process. I mean, eventually, I think a lot of things are going to be that way, but it's hard to wait. I mean, it's not like they drop an episode every week and, you know, we have something to look forward to. It's like we get it all in one shot. And if you're dedicated, you can sit 10 hours and watch the whole thing and be like, okay, when's the next season? It's like, you just watched it. Like, it's going to be a year. Sorry. They haven't filmed it yet. Like, you just watched it and they haven't even filmed the next one yet.
Oh, I know. It's so sad.
It's a lot. It's a lot. I mean, we're getting used to it.
But I'll speak for yourself.
I know. It's not like we have a choice.
No, we don't.
We don't.
No, we don't.
It's all right. We'll make it through. That's why we do stuff like this. That's why I play around on my Instagram. That's why we're doing this podcast, because we're filling the time. We're enjoying ourselves and filling the time. So
yes, we are. Yes, we are.
So we will we will be back with episode 4. We will find out the aftermath of finding out that it's twins.
Yes,
soon enough. And I
mean, how they're both going to deal with that.
Oh, that's a heavy load. But
it certainly is.
We will figure it
out. All right.
Out.
Well, thank you, folks.
Thank you, Gigi. See. Thank you, folks.
Take care.
Thanks for listening, everyone. Next time. Bye-bye.